All right, I'm going to tell you how I do patch panel replacement. You should always butt weld your patch panels. But sometimes it isn't always easy to get it set up. So I'll cut this panel a little longer down than the new patch panel. I'll overlap it, and then I'll run a couple screws into it to hold it in place to get everything test fitted. So first thing I'll do is have it back off. I'll chop these corners off so they're gone. So you have this piece of metal going and then this little piece of metal going. Lay it back over there, put your screws back in where they need to be so everything's back to where it was. And then I'll slowly cut with an air hacksaw or a whiz wheel through past this screw. Take this screw out, push the metal piece back in, which was this. Push it back in, tack weld it. Cut some more, come around, tack weld it. Take this screw out, push the metal in further, tack weld it. So if you leave your tack welds about 3 or 4 inches apart all the way across, then you can get your piece of metal out. So then what you do, because you don't want it to warp and go crazy, so now you have your spacing. So add a tack weld, add a tack weld, add a tack weld, add a tack weld, tack weld, tack weld. All the way across one, it gives it time to cool down. Then come back and just go right next to it all the way through. So you're pretty much welding 1/8 inch at a time. You got to keep your heat down, because if not, you'll warp the living daylights out of your panel. But you should always butt weld. But you got to have a thickness here. So the rule of thumb is you want the gap to be almost 1.5 times thickness of the metal. Because when you do weld it, what's going to happen is the heat is going to draw it together and make it rise. And then you're going to have a heck of a time. So you got to have that gap. So that's where the whiz wheel comes in, so you can keep that trimmed up. Because when you weld it, this metal will draw back together. So you got to keep an eye on that. Because if not, it'll be all warped and nasty. The benefits of butt welding versus overlapping is when you overlap it, which is an okay repair, but over time that moisture gets between the two pieces of metal and that weld would eventually fail. And plus, when you do the inside the panel, you can clean off the metal and make it look nice so it looks like it's never been repaired. With an overlap, you're definitely going to see that seam on the inside of the trunk. And what I did here, before I put it on, this is panel bond adhesive, and the rest of the perimeter has been spot welded with the Pro Spot. So once this is done, you'll hardly be able to tell that it was even replaced. And if you're good enough, you'll be able to metal straighten most of this without doing a lot of mud work. And then you got to weld your screw hole shut. That's simple enough. But that's how I do patch panels.